to Adulting University, where we take adult shit and cut into kid-sized pieces. My name is Miss A, and today I'll be talking about how to live/survive in a triggered world. With that being said, let's get started, shall we? So, it feels like it takes very little to set off people these days, and even when feelings are justifiable, it remains that we as a society are willing to, or it looks like we're willing to, generally speaking, overlook social constructs of what we deem as permissible behavior that makes up our society overall, especially when it comes to news stories of how we see the world or political ideologies we hold dear to our hearts. This is both true of the left and the right. So I'm here to give you a general outline that you can use to first check yourself as to managing your triggered moments. And then of course, I'm going to share with you some words of wisdom that my mother gave me years ago that I think one can apply to life that would help or can help anyone with any political stance navigate their humanity better in this triggered time. Number one, I think we first have to stop playing God to other people's morality. That's right, no cancel culture behavior or SWJ policing to anyone's viewpoint or ideology. Now, I'm not saying you can't have an opinion, but I have covered over a year ago the difference between having an opinion and judgment or judging, which is one can think what they think, but they must also not treat the person that they're in, having a moment or encounter with that bias or prejudice. Oftentimes, as of late, I hear people saying that they're very tolerant and they're very loving, but they lose all regard for a person that has a different viewpoint of theirs and are unable to respect the fact that if you are able to think a certain way, that the other person should also be able to do the same. 2, you must be willing to have an honest dialogue that takes into account both sides without additives and or preservatives to fit your narrative. This includes holding judgment until there is more knowledge of the topic at hand. Try not to work with assumptions, in other words. Look to clarify what has been said so that you have a better understanding before you react. 3, and this one might even be most important, but once differences have been, basically acknowledged by both parties, you must be willing to look for the points of agreement, ideology that aligns to one another. Even if the summary of what a person is saying doesn't agree with you, find what is most in common with your ideology or viewpoint, stance, what have you, and work forward from there. Doesn't necessarily mean that you'll end up agreeing with everything, of course. You have to remember rule number 1, which is that you're going to respect the differences of their opinions. Number 4, you will need to be willing to recognize where pride has contributed to faulty understanding or emotional/triggered reaction within yourself. Accepting full ownership of your emotions and being keenly aware of what has triggered you, or if you were triggered by something other than what the person literally said to you, and thus not make it their responsibility for your actions or words because you're triggered. Last but not least, I'd like to leave you with some words of wisdom that my mother passed down to me in childhood, which is that just because you're right doesn't mean you have the right. And so I leave that with you. And this, I hope, will be a rule of thumb as to your conduct in this triggered world, and help you discern that just because you have the right to your emotions, feelings, you shouldn't let it be a sense of entitlement to dehumanize others through your actions and words. Well, that's it for today. Just some tips and words of wisdom to help you survive in this triggered world. Thank you for attending class. Go ahead and do your homework by subscribing to this channel, commenting, and thumbs up in this video. My name is Miss A, and until next time, remember, you must be this tall to pay bills.